All right, hello and welcome. If you're gearing up for your GCSE computer science exams, then you know SQL is a pretty big deal. So today, we're going to crack the code on SQL searches. We'll turn what looks like complicated code into a super powerful tool that you can actually use with confidence. Let's dive right in.
So think about this for a second. How would you find just one specific person's phone number in a phone book for like an entire country? It's a massive, almost impossible task, right? Well, that's the exact problem databases solve every single second of every day. They hold just a staggering amount of information, and SQL is the special language we use to ask them incredibly specific questions and get the answers back instantly.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the whole idea of searching. Then we'll build our very first, super basic query. After that, we'll learn how to add conditions to get way more specific, refine our searches even more, and then, at the end, we'll put together a toolkit of all the key commands you're going to need for your exam.
I want you to think of a database like a gigantic, perfectly organized library. Now, you wouldn't just wander around the aisles for hours hoping to stumble upon the right book, would you? Of course not. You'd go straight to the librarian. Well, SQL, that stands for Structured Query Language, that's the language you use to talk to that librarian. It's how you tell them exactly what piece of information you're looking for.
Now, for all of our examples today, we're going to be working with this made-up database table called customers. It's pretty straightforward, It's got columns for a unique customer ID, some names, an address, city, and country. Just take a quick look and get familiar with these column names because they are the absolute key to asking the right questions. Okay, so where do we even start? Well, before we can find that one specific piece of data, sometimes we just need to get a lay of the land, See what's actually in the table. This is the simplest, most fundamental question you can possibly ask a database.
And the command for this is select everything. The keyword select basically tells the database, hey, I want to get some data. And that little asterisk or star symbol, that's a super common wildcard encoding that just means all or everything. So you put them together, and we're just asking to select everything. And this just shows you how beautifully simple it can be. Select everything from the customers table. Literally just translates to select everything from the customers table. That's it. You run this and the database will just show you every single row and every single column in that table. It's our starting point for everything else. But let's be honest, you're almost never going to want to see everything, especially if you're dealing with a database with millions of records. What you really want is to find something specific. So how do we tell our digital librarian to narrow the search down a bit?
We do it with the where clause. This, right here, is where the real power of SQL kicks in. Where lets you add a condition, a rule that the data has to follow if it wants to be included in the results. It's our #1 tool for filtering.
Okay, now we're building on what we just learned. Notice two huge changes here. First, instead of that asterisk, we're being specific about the columns we want, just the contact name and the address. And by the way, this is a really good habit to get into. Not only does it make your query clearer, but in giant databases, only asking for the data you need is way faster. And second, we've added our where clause to filter for a very specific condition, where contact name equals Mr. Creosote. Here, that equal sign means we are looking for an exact, perfect match.
And bam! This is what the database gives back. Not the whole table, just the specific columns we asked for, and only for the record that perfectly matched our where condition. It's clean, it's fast, and it's exactly what we wanted.
An exact match is great, but what if you only know part of the information? Like what if you know a name starts with Cree, but you can't remember the rest of it? For that, we're going to need some more flexible search tools.
And for that job, we use the like operator. Now, unlike the equal sign, which is super strict and demands a perfect match, like lets us search for patterns. And we create these patterns using wildcards, like our friend the asterisk, which can stand in for any sequence of characters. So the crucial part here is the change in our where clause. Where contact name like Cree asterisk is basically telling the database, hey, find me any contact name that starts with the letters CRE, and I really don't care what comes after it. So this would find Mr. Creosote, sure, but it would also find Cressida or Creed. See? It's a much broader, more flexible kind of search.
So let's just put them side by side to make it super clear. You're going to use the equal sign for precision, for when you know the exact value. And you use like with a wildcard for flexibility, when you're just searching for a pattern. For your exam, knowing exactly when to use each one is absolutely key.
But what if you need to filter by more than one rule at a time? I mean, what if it gets complicated? That's where the logical operators and or come in to save the day. They let you stack up multiple conditions. Just remember, and is strict. All of the conditions have to be true. Or is much more chill. Just one of the conditions needs to be true.
Okay, let's build our most complex query yet, step by step. We start with our base, right? Select star from customers. Simple. Then we add our first filter, where country equals England. Okay, easy enough. Now we use and to add a second, more complicated rule. We want the city to be either Camelot or Palermo. Now pay close attention to the brackets here. This is so important. They group that or condition together, telling the database to figure that part out as a single unit first. It's just like in maths. So the full rule is the country must be England, and the city can be one of those two options.
Whew, we've covered a ton of ground, haven't we? We've gone from asking for absolutely everything to building these really complex multi-part questions. So now let's pull all of that together into a simple, powerful toolkit that you can take with you straight into your exam.
And here it is. Think of this as your ultimate revision card for SQL searches. Select is what you want to see. From is where you're looking. Where is your filter? Like is for matching patterns. And or are for combining multiple filters. If you can master these 6 keywords, you'll be able to build pretty much any search query you're going to need for your GCSEs.
So, we'll leave you with this little thought. Every single time you use an app, or a streaming service, or a social media site, you're interacting with a massive database. And now you understand the language they speak. So what questions would you ask them? What kind of hidden patterns do you think you could find? That's the power that you have now. Good luck with all your revision, and thanks for joining us.